Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Off the Bench podcast. My name is Robert Sellers, and today we get to talk about the Players Era college basketball tournament that is going on in Las Vegas. And as much as I love to talk about college football, and as much as I love to watch the NBA and the NFL, I'm a big Texans fan, obviously, there is something special. There is a very special place in my heart for college basketball. And I love it so much, and I love that the tournament like the Players Era Festival can exist because it's been so phenomenal to watch. Day one just happened. There were so many amazing games. Syracuse Houston went into overtime. Kansas Notre Dame had a great finish. Baylor Creighton was a great game. Alabama Gonzaga was up and down the floor the whole time. St. John's Iowa State was phenomenal. And I just want to give a big shout out to all of these programs, all of these teams from all these different conferences that chose to play in this tournament because it is phenomenal. It is the best in season tournament that we have by far, in my opinion. I know that Maui's going on right now. Texas Arizona State is at halftime as I'm recording this. NC State lost to Seton Hall. That was big. And I know that Purdue won the Baja More against Texas Tech, and that's all great. But in my opinion, the Players Era is just so phenomenal. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. If I was in Las Vegas, I would be there for every single one of these games because they were so awesome today, and they're going to be great tomorrow as well. But for this podcast, I'm just going to just stick to the Players Era and just talk about the games today. Um, with that being said, we're going to hop right into it. The first game that I want to talk about, I think, was the best game and the biggest story from day one of this tournament, and that was the St. John's Red Storm going down, taking their second loss of the year at the hands of the Iowa State Cyclones. Huge win for Iowa State. I mean, this is by far their best win of the year so far. And they went out and they played really, really well. They shot the ball at 41% from the 3 point line against the St. John's team that really likes to run you off the 3 point line. And the main proponent of that 3 point offense was Milan Momcilovic. He was their MVP today for sure. Led him in scoring with 23 points, was 8 for 13 from the field. My goodness. He was so efficient and he was really, really impressive to watch. Now, I thought the story with Iowa State last year was is they played really, really well in the non-conference, and they got out to just a fantastic start. But then the injury bug sort of bit them. You know, they lost their point guard. They lost a lot of the key players that made them elite in the early part of the season, and they never really were the same team. And you might look at this Iowa State team and say, "Oh, here we go again. They're great in the non-conference. They were number 3 in the country last year for a while until conference play started." And you might just be saying this is just the same old Iowa State team that's going to be really good early in the year, but they're going to falter later down the road. And in my opinion, that's really only been the case because of the injury bug. I think that if this Iowa State team can stay healthy, they can be phenomenal. And I mean, how good is the Big 12, by the way? The Big 12 right now, in my opinion, is the best conference in college basketball. I mean, you got Houston and Arizona playing at such high levels. Arizona has 2 of the best wins in the country. 3 of the best wins, really. UCLA is a good team. Arizona beat them. Houston is phenomenal. Iowa State's phenomenal. Kansas is winning games without their best player. We'll talk about that in a second. Texas Tech, I know they got smoked by Purdue, but they're still a really good team. This Big 12 conference is deep. It's really, really high level at the top. BYU, I didn't even mention BYU. BYU's been awesome this year. And, I mean, the Big 12 conference, to me, has completely taken over the SEC as the best conference in college basketball. Big Ten also is there arguing, so we'll see what happens the rest of the way through non-conference play. But the Big 12 has looked great. Another guy that I love on this Iowa State team that I've loved since I saw him play against BYU last year in the Big 12 conference tournament is Joshua Jefferson. Joshua Jefferson is an absolute bell cow. He's a workhorse. He played 36 minutes in this game, which led the team. He only had 17 points. It's not like he dropped a 30 burger or something. But you could just give the ball to Josh Jefferson, whether it's on the perimeter, whether it's in the low post, on the elbow, wherever it is, and he can work. He wears you down. He gets to his spot. I know he was only 5 for 14 from the field, as you can see, but he had 8 rebounds, 6 for 8. He knows how to get to the free throw line. He's experienced. He brings a lot of winning mentality to this Iowa State team. And I think a lot of what he does is what makes Iowa State so consistent. And he's part of the reason why they won this game for sure. I think Tamin Lipsey played a great game too. Those 5 assists were huge. You can tell. I mean, the difference between Iowa State's offense and St. John's offense, I mean, there are a lot of differences. They're very different. But one of the main differences is St. John's doesn't really have a glorified point guard. And Iowa State definitely has one with Tamin Lipsey, and he's been playing great this year. Didn't have his greatest scoring night. He's not the most polished scorer at the point guard position, but that's not really his main role. His main role is a distributor, getting it to these shooters, getting it to Jefferson in the low post. And I mean, again, one of the most impressive parts about this Iowa State team, I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. They out rebounded St. John's. I think St. John's is one of the best front court teams in the country, mainly scoring wise with Ejiofor and Hopkins. They're not the most elite rebounders, but they're still great. Like they are great in the paint. And Iowa State, albeit it was only by 2 rebounds, but they were able to out rebound the Red Storm, which I thought was impressive. St. John's is also elite at forcing turnovers, or at least they were last year under Rick Pitino. And Iowa State only turned the ball over 11 times. Of course, a lot of that is credited to their point guard play with Lipsy and just the consistency of which they play offense. They didn't get a ton of production from their bench, but I mean, with guys like Jefferson and Momcilovic and Lipsy, their offense just makes sense. It flows. They don't need to score in transition. They don't need heroics. This is just a very, very well coached, well strung together, consistent team. And they're going to be scary in the Big 12 for sure. They're going to be scary in Players Era, and they just picked up a huge win against a St. John's team that is now 3-2, I believe is their record. They might be 2-2, I don't remember, but they picked up their second loss of the year. Of course, their first loss came at Madison Square Garden against the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they just barely lost to Iowa State. Now, I'm gonna toot St. John's horn for a second here, because I know a lot of people are probably going to be sounding off on the Johnnies, and they're going to be saying, no, it was a 1-year thing for Rick Pitino last year. This team's not as good. This team's not as skilled. They lost R.J. Lewis. They lost Richmond. They lost all these players. They're not back. St. John's is not going to be good. That's not my opinion. I think St. John's is still a great basketball team. As I said earlier, I think their front court is one of the best in the country with Ejiofor, Hopkins, as well as Dylan Mitchell. Here, I'll let y'all see the whole box score there. I think that three-headed monster between Mitchell, Hopkins, and Ejiofor, they're strong, they're powerful, they're dominant, they're efficient. I know Hopkins didn't have his best game today, but he was still 10 for 10 from the free throw line. They rebound really, really well at a high level. Like I said earlier, not elite, but at a high level. And they are just the main force of this team. That being said, like I just tooted their horn there. That being said, that is not where the problem is with the St. John's team. The backcourt is so confusing. Like, I don't think anybody on St. John's understands the backcourt right now. First of all, the main issue, this was the issue going into the season, or at least when people looked at St. John's roster, they said, hey, I mean, you can have all the great front court players you want. You can have all this great athleticism and great defense on the wings with guys like Oziah Sellers, with guys like Ian Jackson and Josan Sonone. And you can have these guys, but if you don't have a point guard that can get them the ball, that can facilitate things, that can run an offense, you're just going to kind of be stuck in the mud. And things are not going to flow the way you want them to. And that's exactly where we are with St. John's. A lot of people thought that Dylan Darling was maybe going to step up and be that great point guard. Dylan Darling is tiny out there. I mean, he's not a big dude. He's not the best passer, and he's transferring from a non-power four school. I don't remember exactly where it is right now, but he just doesn't have the experience. He could get better and better as the season goes on. I hope that this happens. I hope that I'm hating right now and he gets a lot better because I love the Johnnies. I love Pitino. But I don't see it from Dylan Darling yet. And the other guys, I know Rick Pitino tweeted after they got Ian Jackson from the transfer portal, St. John's next great point guard, Ian Jackson. Here we go. And I was pumped up. I said, you know what? If anyone can do it, Pitino can do it. If anyone can get the most out of this guy, it's him. And Ian Jackson just has not been that this year. I mean, especially in this game, 2 for 6 from the field, just 1 assist and 2 turnovers in just 16 minutes. Like, Ian Jackson, you can have all the talent in the world, but you are just not a point guard. And because of that, you can run as much offense as you want through Zuby Ejiofor. And he's a great player. And he's going to put up 16-plus points every night because he can score, because he can get to his right shoulder and just punish you and make you pay. And you can get 9 rebounds and 5 assists. But that's just not sustainable. You can't just run offense through Zuby Ejiofor and expect to cruise through the Big East and make it to the Final Four. So point guard play is going to have to step up if this team wants to be for real and elite. They have the talent. They just don't have someone to facilitate that talent. That's the main problem with the St. John's Johnnies right now. That being said, despite all of that, they only lost this game by 1 point. They were in this game the whole time. They played against a great Iowa State team and hung with them. There is not a huge gap between these two teams at all. The gap was 1 point on a neutral field very early in the season. Now, if there's one thing St. John's is going to do, it's improve. So this St. John's team that we're seeing right now is going to be very different from the St. John's team that we see when they enter the Big East tournament. So just want to put that out there. But one of the main things that I was mad about with St. John's, there was a moment they were down by one with under 30 seconds to go. They had a chance to take the lead. They had possession, and it was the possession of the game. And the ball is in the hands of Osiah Sellers. And I love Osiah Sellers. He's athletic. He was having a good game. But if I'm Patino, if I'm St. John's and I have the opportunity to go win the game, I am giving the ball to Zuby Ejiofor 100 times out of 100. I don't care. I don't care how good of a game Osiah Sellers is having. I don't care how good of an athlete Ian Jackson. I am giving the ball to Zuby Ejiofor and letting him win the game. We saw that against Marquette last year. So I don't know. I was a little confused about that, about why he didn't get the ball there. But I mean, at the end of the day, if St. John's wants to be an elite team, point guard play is going to have to improve. And if that doesn't improve, this team is not going to improve. But it is Rick Pitino. He's one of, if not, you can make an argument that he's the top 5, top 3, whatever you want, greatest college basketball coach of all time. He's phenomenal. He's legendary. He's won multiple national championships. But if he wants to win another one, he cannot do it with the way Dylan Darling is looking at point guard and the way Ian Jackson is looking at point guard, because it's not going to work out. But super awesome game. This one was really fun to watch. Big time win for Iowa State. And again, when you enter a tournament like this, when you schedule big non-conference games like this and you lose them like St. John's just did, it is not the end of the world. It really isn't. You don't get that punished for these wins. I mean, you might in the AP poll, but the AP, like, I don't even look at the AP poll. The AP poll doesn't mean anything to me in college basketball. It's all about the net ratings. And this is not punishing them in the net ratings very much at all. It's giving Iowa State a heck of a boost. 100% it is. That's why you enter a tournament like this, not for the potential punishment, but for the potential reward. And Iowa State's getting rewarded. St. John's, they'll be okay. They've still got a lot of opportunities to get big wins the rest of the season. And I think they're going to improve. I'm not worried. I'm not sounding the alarm on St. John's yet. The worry meter for me on St. John's, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, holy cow, they're not going to make the tournament. 1 being, they're going to win the national championship. I'm at about a 3.5 or a 4. I still think they're going to compete with UConn to win the Big East. I think UConn's going to win that conference, but they're going to be right there next to them. And I think this St. John's team, if they can organize, if they can group together, and they can trust Zuby Ejiofor, and they can have a point guard emerge, they could make a run at a Final Four for sure. The shooting wasn't terrible. Osiah Sellers was 5 for 6 from 3. They didn't really have anybody that could go 5 for 6 from 3 last year other than R.J. Lewis, and at times he was very inconsistent. Just pull up the Arkansas game. We're going to move on from this game for now. Final thoughts. Big win for Iowa State. Great performance from Momcilovic. I love the consistency of this Iowa State offense. And St. John's, you need a point guard. And Rick Pitino, you're going to figure it out. Elsewhere in the Players Era tournament, what a game. What a heck of a game this was between the Houston Cougars and the Syracuse Orange. Houston outlasted Syracuse 78-74 in overtime. And they needed every bit of their talent to beat this feisty Syracuse team that we're going to talk about in a moment. But you know me, we always talk about the winning team first on this podcast, so we're going to talk about the Houston Cougars. Now, let's just remember real quick last year's Houston team. Just humor me for a second. Last year's Houston team, they lost to Auburn early in the regular season. They went into Players Era, and they won a couple games, sure, but then they lost to Alabama, lost to San Diego State, and lost to Notre Dame in the Players Era last year. Notre Dame was not even close to making the tournament. San Diego State got wiped in the play-in game, and Alabama was a great team last year, and they made it to the Elite Eight. But still, that Houston team early in the year, they picked up 4 losses before the end of the Players Era. They did not look good. They did not look anywhere near a title contending team. You cannot look me in the eye and say that Houston team was going to end up in the national championship game. And guess what? Kelvin Sampson brought them together. They just simply glided through the Big 12 conference like it was absolutely nothing. And they made it to the tournament as a 1 seed. They pretty much smoked everybody they played in that tournament other than Gonzaga and Purdue. That's very not true. They struggled with Gonzaga and Purdue in that tournament, but they beat them. They smoked Tennessee. They beat Duke in the Final Four, and they were just a little bit short from Kelvin Sampson's first national championship game. So if people are looking at this Houston, and by the way, that Houston team all of their best players, whether it be LJ Cryer or Jawan Roberts or Emmanuel Sharp or Marley June, all those guys had been in that Houston program for a while. This Houston team is vastly different. They've got Kingston Flemings starting, playing 39 minutes as a true freshman. They got Chris Senac Jr. starting, playing 30 minutes and getting 12 rebounds as a true freshman. And they got Isaiah Harwell as a true freshman also playing 24 minutes in this game. And this Houston team is only going to get better this year because they have these young guys that Kelvin Sampson is developing. That is my true belief. This Houston team is going to look so much better than it is later down the year than it is right now in November. That being said, they are playing better this year than they were last year. I mean, they beat Auburn this year. They won their first game of the Players Tournament. So, yes, Houston is still my national title contender. I think that they're still my national title pick to win the whole thing. They were at the preseason. I'm staying true to that. And I think this is a great Houston team. Miles Juzian played great today, 8 of 16 from the field, shot the three really well, got to the free throw line at the end of the game, made plays, 5 assists, only 3 turnovers, and also grabbed 7 rebounds. He was great out there. Again, Miles Juzian brings so much experience to this roster. He did struggle. He goes through some cold spurts at times, but he's still a great player. He's a good playmaker, and he's just the main cog in this Houston engine. And I love to watch him. Emmanuel Sharp was huge in overtime. He sort of took over the game late. He's also a guy that can go through some cold spurts, but man, if you give that guy an inch of space, he will make you pay. He was great from the free throw line, and that step back three he hit in overtime, nasty. That was some nasty stuff from Emmanuel Sharp. I thought Chris Senac just looks so good. He is such a good player. That's another one of the freshmen everyone is talking about. Darren Peterson and AJ Devonsta and Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson and all these guys. This freshman class, I did pretty much a whole video on this earlier in the year. This freshman class is so insanely deep, and Chris Senac is just another example of that. Not a lot of people are talking about this guy. 8 points, 12 rebounds. That's just what he's going to do for Houston. He's a heck of a rebounder. He's big. He's an awesome defender. JoJo Tugler struggled in this game a little bit, but I still think he's one of the best, if not the best, defenders in college basketball. He's a great player. Kingston Fleming's 3 for 11. You're going to get these games from Kingston Fleming shooting-wise early in his career because he's a freshman. He was fantastic against Auburn, and I think he's just going to keep getting better. He also had 6 assists, which led the team. So it wasn't a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but he's going to have so much better games the rest of the year. And I still have so much trust in this Houston team. I still think they're great despite this. But they did have some struggles in this game. They shot the ball well, but honestly, I am impressed with Syracuse, and I'll talk about Syracuse more in a minute. I'm impressed with Syracuse for keeping this close in the paint. I thought that Houston would just dominate in the paint against Syracuse. That was not the case. Again, they were up by 11 with like 2 minutes left, and Syracuse just went on an 11-0 run to tie the game and send it to overtime. Like, really? Against Houston? You went 11-0 in the last 2 minutes against Houston? That's not supposed to happen. That does not happen against Kelvin Sampson teams. I think a lot of it was Uzan kind of going cold. I think a lot of it was Houston turned the ball over a couple times in that run, and their defense just was not as elite as it was the rest of the game. They didn't get back in transition super well, but Houston to me is a better team than Syracuse. I think Syracuse just played one of their best games of the year, and Houston struggled a little bit. That's why it was so close. But I really still think Houston's great. I'm not worried about the Cougars at all. But Syracuse, man, I am so excited Syracuse is going to be relevant again this year. At least that's what I think after watching this game. It's been a couple years since Syracuse has been a main topic of conversation in the great sport of college basketball. But the Syracuse Orange may be back. I mean, Carmelo was there in attendance to see this game. It was super fun to watch. This is a really interesting Syracuse team. They have some great young freshmen, guys like Sadiq White, guys like Kion Anthony. Those are some guys that are going to develop as the year goes on. Super highly recruited 4-star recruits that are coming into this program. But they also got some consistency on this team. I really liked what I saw from William Kyle today. I know. His free throw form is the most disgusting thing ever. It is terrible to watch him shoot free throws. It is a pain. But he had 10 rebounds against JoJo Tugler and Chris Senac. So, yes, if you do that and you put up 12 points and a double-double, I'm going to make you the MVP of this game for your team. Because that's hard, dirty work down there that he was able to perform. I was really impressed with him. Of course, he was on the team last year. I've been really impressed with Nathan George this year, the Georgia Tech transfer. He's been averaging like over 6 assists a game this year. He only had 2 today and 6 turnovers, but he's going up against just an elite defensive backcourt from Houston. I think that Tyler Betsy came off the bench and provided a real spark, especially in their big run to get back into this game. He was super fun to watch. It's just this team's got mojo again. Like it feels like the Syracuse the last couple of years would go into this game kind of flat-footed, and they would go down 11 points, 2 minutes left, and they would just be out. Like there's no chance they would come back. But you could tell by just watching their bench and watching them play with tenacity on the defensive side of the basketball court, and just getting out in transition and just having no fear. Like yes, obviously the Houston guards and the Houston players are probably better coached and they're more talented, but Syracuse, they played with no fear out there. They were attacking one-on-ones. They were being aggressive. They were playing good aggressive basketball. It's not like they shot the hell out of the ball or they out rebounded Houston. They were scrappy, and I really loved watching the Syracuse team play. Uh, Also another big shout out to JJ Starling. He was really efficient out there today. Also had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and only 2 turnovers. He was a guy that was great for Syracuse last year. One of their only really impactful returners this year, so it was good to see him play well. And I think he's been battling some injuries recently. I don't know. I'm not the most versed in Syracuse basketball, but I think that's been the case. So it's good to see him getting back onto the court and making an impact. But the ACC also has taken a step forward this year. And to me, it's really all about the middle of the pack for the ACC. Obviously, Louisville and Duke and North Carolina, it seems, are all going to be great this year. And you're going to have your Boston colleges of the world that are just going to be awful. But if that middle of the pack is competitive and is good, teams like Syracuse and Miami and Virginia Tech and Virginia and those sort of teams, which have been good this year so far, it's going to make this conference really, really fun. And I think that's exactly what we're going to get. So this game was a really, really fun one to watch. I really enjoyed watching it. And we'll see. I think Houston could maybe still be my pick to win the Players Era. I think Gonzaga might win it. They just had a huge win against Alabama. But Houston's still a great team. And Syracuse, relevant once again. They are back. It was so cool to see Carmelo Anthony sitting courtside. And just what an awesome game. What an awesome game that we got in the non-conference between these two storied programs. Next game I'm going to talk about was the game I just mentioned. Gonzaga beats Alabama. They take down the 8th-ranked Crimson Tide, I believe, 95-85. Again, I don't really care about the AP poll. I don't really think it matters at this point. But, man, this was a fantastic game from Gonzaga. A huge win for them. Probably their best win of the year so far. And they had a blowout win against Creighton to start the year. No, that was later in the year. They blew out Oklahoma to start the year. Then they blew out Creighton. And then they beat Arizona State 2. Now they have a win over Alabama. That's 4 Power 4 wins already for Gonzaga. They are playing at an extremely high level. And to me, the main reason that is because of their front court. Like literally every other team in the Players Era, I made their MVP a specific player. Gonzaga, I just put their entire front court because it absolutely just dominated this game. And I understand it is Alabama. Alabama's front court is very weak. It's very small, and it's not their strong suit. But Gonzaga's front court, man, they just absolutely manhandled the Crimson Tide. Grant Ike is playing at such a high level. He just had another double-double today, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 8 for 19 from the field, zero turnovers from the big man. Also, Tyon Grant Foster is back, and he was freaking back. He played so well. Played 30 minutes, was 21 points, 9 for 16 from the field. He was so electric. He was so much fun to watch. That's the Tyon Grant Foster that I remember from 2023. Not last year, but the year before that on Grand Canyon. That was just balling. He's still crazy athletic. He's not the greatest shooter in the world, but he attacks lanes. He gets out in transition, had 7 rebounds, was scrappy, played physical, did not play with fear. I loved watching Tyon Grant Foster. I thought he was incredible. Also was fantastic on defense too. And this whole Gonzaga team played a great defensive basketball game. And then also Braden Huff. Braden Huff has been awesome this year. I mean, 9 for 12 from the field, 8 rebounds, just speaks for itself. This Gonzaga front court is scary. It is one of the best, if not the best, front courts in the country. And I really like this Gonzaga team. I mean, their guards are really nothing crazy to write home about. But still, I mean, Saint Superi, honestly, I haven't really watched much of him this year. Didn't score a field goal, but had 6 assists to just 3 turnovers. I think Braden Smith needs to really step up if this offense wants to just take itself to even another level. Not Purdue's Braden Smith, but Gonzaga's Braden Smith. I didn't really see a lot from him today, but who knows? Steel Ventures is a great shooter out there. It's really kind of all he does for this offense is shoot threes. But this is a different Gonzaga team. I mean, the Gonzaga teams of the last couple of years have been elite shooting teams. This Gonzaga team, only 6 from 22 from 3. They are not an elite shooting team. They're just a dominant front court team. Now, that is all positive about Gonzaga, and I hate to do this because I really like Gonzaga. I really like Mark Few. They're a Jesuit school. I went to a Jesuit high school. Shout out to all my Jesuits out there. But I've been hearing people talk about this Gonzaga team, whether it's commentators for the Players Era, commentators for Maui, people on social media, whatever it is, that are saying, yeah, man, this Gonzaga team, they're a national title contender. They should be ranked number 1. They're gonna go out there, they're gonna dominate this year. Yeah, I'm picking. Watch out for Gonzaga. I'm saying it right now. They're gonna win the national title. To me, that's a little bit Georgia Tech theory, in my opinion. And if you're not familiar with the Georgia Tech theory, to me, that is, and this is related to what happened with Georgia Tech in football this year. The Georgia Tech theory is when a team is very underrated to start the year. Not a lot of people are talking about them. They're left out of rankings. They're left out of national conversations. And then they go out and they perform really well in the first few weeks of the year. And people realize, oh man, we underrated this team. That's not good. Like we got to make up for this. And to compensate for their underrating, they then vastly overrate the team. I think that is kind of what's happening with Gonzaga. Not a lot of people were talking about them being nationally relevant this year. I mean, some people were. Everyone knew that they were going to be good, but no one was saying they were going to be elite. And so now that they've proved that they can beat elite teams, people are now out here saying they're going to win the national title. I think they're compensating for themselves a little bit, just a little bit. Now, do I think Gonzaga should be ranked number 1 right now? Yes. Resume-wise, merit-based wise, Gonzaga should be the number 1 team in the country because of who they've beaten. But I think that this is the best we are going to see Gonzaga this entire year. I think they are peaking now. And again, I could be wrong, but this is a Gonzaga team that doesn't have a lot of young guys that are developing. Their best players are veterans, and that's a good thing. But I mean, just look at some other teams like that have young talent that's going to improve throughout the year. That's not Gonzaga. This right now that we are seeing is a very, very good team. And this team will be dangerous in March, and this team could make a Final Four. But this is the best Gonzaga that we are going to see this season, in my opinion. And I think they're going to be good. I would pick them to make a Sweet 16, but I don't think they're a national title contender quite yet. I don't think their backcourt is good enough for me to say that. But they are great. They could definitely win Players Era. And you know what? This could definitely come back to bite me. Gonzaga could go on to make the Final Four, and I could look like a complete idiot. I have made a lot of wrong picks this year in college basketball and in college football. I thought Kentucky was going to be the best team in the SEC. And you know what? That could still be the case. The season's not out. The jury is still not out about Kentucky. There's still a lot of season left to be played for the Wildcats. But I'm just saying, this Gonzaga team, in my opinion, is getting a little overrated right now. But they're still great. And they should still definitely win their conference. But switching gears over to the Crimson Tide, this was the easiest MVP pick of the whole video so far. LeBaron Philon played out of his mind in this game. He was so good. He was 11 of 18 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, put up 7 assists on just 6 turnovers and 29 points. Philon was unreal in this basketball game. And I just want to give him his flowers because he played a great game. Here's the rest of their team stats. And there's always a but. I know, every time I give someone praise, there's always a but. The only reason that Philon put up these points was because he had to put up these points. Now, I remember Alabama last year. They were a great team. They had a good front court. They had a national title, national player of the year, preseason contender in Mark Sears. They were a great shooting team, vintage NATOs. But the problem with Alabama when they played against Duke last year was their guards were so small that they just got suffocated by the Duke defense. Duke played such good defense in that game, and Alabama's guard, they just didn't have any room to breathe. And to me, that is very much what happened against Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga's backcourt is athletic. It's long. It's big. They don't score at it in the same level. They're not great playmakers, but they're just long and they're great defenders. And I think Philon sort of realized, yeah, Holloway is getting run off his spot. He's getting contested really well, and he's having a hard time shooting today. He was 2 for 10 from the field. Houston Millette didn't even score. Bull Bowen didn't get any action at all. Their guards just got shut down. Latrell Reitzel was injured for this game. That was a big miss for Alabama. He's always injured, it seems, for this Crimson Tide team. But Phylon was forced to do everything himself because of that. And that's not something you can fix overnight. So that's a little bit of a concern for Alabama. Also, they just keep getting out rebounded by teams. Their front court continues to be a weakness. Gonzaga had 48 rebounds to Alabama's 36. A thing that is improving with this Alabama team is their turnovers. They turned the ball over way more last year than they have this year. To me, that's been impressive. Most of their turnovers just came from Phylon trying to do everything, and he had to do everything, so I understand that. But that's not a major concern for me this year. Alabama still hasn't had their great shooting game yet. They shot great against St. John's, but even then, there was a lot of meat left on the bone. So I think we still have the best version of Alabama is still out there. They still haven't played their best game yet, in my opinion. They were great against St. John's, but to me, they still haven't played their best game. What I like from Alabama is their effort offensively. I think that's really good. But again, there are just some things about this Crimson Tide team that are so inconsistent. Mainly their shooting, their lack of size on the perimeter, and even Phylon is very inconsistent. He had a fantastic game against Gonzaga, but I mean, just look at the Purdue game. He was very inefficient in that one. This is an Alabama team that, if they are hot and if they are matched up with the right opponent, can beat anybody. So I would never say about an Alabama team playing anyone, yeah, there's no doubt the team playing Alabama is going to win the game, because all it takes is for Alabama to get hot, and they will win. That is literally all it takes. So I still think this is a great Alabama backcourt. When healthy, when matched up against the right opponent, they are fantastic. It's just they're a little inconsistent because of their lack of rebounding and their lack of size on the perimeter. So because of those reasons, I don't think Alabama is going to contend for a national title this year. But they're still a great team. They're going to be super fun to watch, and they're going to make some noise in the SEC. They could win that conference. They could get a really high seed, and they could make a Final Four run. I mean, heck, they did in 2023, and I think this team is a heck of a lot better than it was in 2023. So we'll see with the Crimson Tide and the Bulldogs. It's still very early in the year, but this was a really fun game to watch. And shout out to the Gonzaga front court for being fantastic in this one. Next game we're going to talk about is another just fantastic game. That's what's so great about the Players Era Tournament. That's what's so great about college basketball. Fantastic game after fantastic game after fantastic game. So much fun. This tournament is so much fun. And the Baylor-Gonzaga game is a great example of that. Baylor found a way to win this one 81-74. They started off playing really, really well. They got out to a lead, and Creighton came back with the help of some shooting brilliance. They were 11 from 29 from 3. They got hot in sort of the third quarter-ish area of this game, which brought them back in it, and then Baylor was able to pull away. Cameron Carr was fantastic in this game, 21 points. That dude is so athletic. He's not the tallest dude in the world. Just grabbed 9 rebounds casually. He can dunk it like anybody. I mean, Cameron Carr, he's so much fun to watch. I guess if you just have the last name Carr and you're a forward in major college basketball, you're just going to be an athletic freak that just wants to dunk everything. Cohen Carr and Cameron Carr, the two examples. But I mean, Cameron Carr, I mean, he was so much fun to watch. That one alley-oop and then the dunk, he tried to throw down a dunk that he didn't get down. If that one had gone down, my goodness. I think, and listen, I'm going to butcher this name. I always butcher this name. I can never figure out how to say this dude's name. But Tunde Yesufu. Yesufu? I don't know. I'm going to go with Yesufu. I'm not good with, I mean, you told me how to pronounce that name. Tunde Yesufu is what I started with. Tunde Yesufu. That's what I'm going with. Yesufu is very talented, in my opinion. He knows how to attack a closeout. He was 2 for 4 from 3. I think it just needs to play a little bit more aggressive. I mean, the kid is so athletic. That's a true freshman out there. Very highly recruited guy. Reminds me a lot of VJ Edgecombe. Not as good as VJ Edgecombe. I'm not going to say that. He's not as polished of a scorer yet. But he has that raw athletic ability. And I think that he's going to get better and better as the season goes on. Most impressive thing about this Baylor team, they dominated Creighton on the boards. They had 45 rebounds. Creighton had 28. Baylor had so many second chance points. I mean, they put up so much effort on the offensive boards, whether it was Dan Skillings, Cam Carr, even guys like Yasaufu that are not, or Yasaufu, whatever. Like Tunde, that dude, number 24. Super athletic guy, put up a lot of effort on the offensive glass. So did Caden Powell, and they just completely out-rebounded a good rebounding Creighton team. They were without Owen Freeman for a while in this game. I think he got injured. Honestly, I didn't see what happened with Owen Freeman. He's one of Iowa's best players, center transfer, or one of Creighton's best players, a center transfer from Iowa. But Baylor still dominated the glass. That was, I think, why they controlled this game. And they shot the ball pretty well. It's not like they got up a bunch of threes, but they were efficient. They didn't turn the ball over that much, only 10 turnovers. This is a good Baylor team. Again, the Big 12, man. The Big 12 is going to be so, so good. It's going to be so fun to watch. I love the Big 12 right now. It's going to be awesome. And Baylor's just another example of that. A lot of people were down on this Scott Drew team going into the year. They're saying, whoa, Scott Drew, you're not ranked to start the year? Or, Scott Drew, what's going on? You're not nationally relevant? What's happening over there, man? Are you sure you're okay? It's going to be fine. The fact that you're shocked that Baylor's not a top 10 team going into the year is a credit to how great of a coach Scott Drew is. They'll be fine, I promise. Creighton, on the other hand, I liked what I saw from Creighton. Hudson Greer, the true freshman, played an awesome game out there. Only played 23 minutes, did not start, but he was 7 for 8 from the field. He could shoot really well. Was 2 for 2 from 3. They had to close out on him, and he even made plays 1-on-1 down the lane. So I think Hudson Greer has got a lot of potential. I think he's going to be fantastic. And I mean, Owen Freeman being out did hurt this team. Creighton was not at 100% for this game, but they had some guys step up. Josh Dix was good, had 6 assists. He's a great point guard for this team. They don't have Ashford. They don't have Pop Isaacs anymore. Josh Dix is the guy that's going to fill that role, and he filled it pretty well last night or tonight. I thought he was fun to watch. But to me, the main issue from this Creighton team, and I think this made a lot of sense preseason too. If you know Creighton basketball, and if you've watched Creighton basketball the last few years, you know that basically the entire defensive strategy for this team is we're going to place our big 7'2" Ryan Kalkbrenner in the middle of the court, and we're going to funnel everything to him, and good luck scoring in the paint. Because that dude is as elite as a rim protector as you're going to find in college basketball. But guess what? That dude's in the NBA now. He's gone. So your defense looks entirely different. They don't have Kalkbrenner to just sit in the middle of the field or in the middle of the court and just swat balls. They don't have that on their team anymore. And I think that's why they're getting out rebounded. I think that's why Baylor had so much success on the offensive boards. That's why they had so much success in the paint scoring. And I think if Creighton really wants to compete in the Big East and compete to try and make the tournament, they're going to have to figure something out defensively that is just new, because the whole defensive strategy without Kalkbrenner, it is just a new look, and that is where they need to improve. And I think they're going to. I think Owen Freeman, when he's healthy, that really helps. He really is a great player, but that has to improve. But still, this was an awesome game. I'm excited to watch these two teams play tomorrow. I have to figure out who they play tomorrow. I don't remember exactly. Let's see. Baylor plays St. John's, and Creighton plays Iowa State. Wow, that's a tough draw. Those are good. Those are good basketball teams. But that'll be fun to watch for sure. Those two teams are going to be fun to watch all season long. And that's what I got from this game. Cameron Carr, awesome dude. I mean, that's just an awesome basketball player right there. Just wants to dunk everything and is super athletic. Tunde Yesufu. I'm going to get your name down. Sooner or later, I'm going to get it down, and you're going to be fun to watch this year also. This is a good Baylor team, for sure. Next game, we got to talk about Auburn. Gets a huge win against Oregon, 84-73. They win by 11. Tahad Pettiford went out and had his best game of the year. He really struggled in the early going this season against Bethune-Cookman, against Houston, against... Who else did they play? They played another dude. I forget. They struggled against this one team. I forget who it was. Pettiford has struggled this year. But in this game, he was fantastic. 9 for 11 from the floor. Just 1 for 5 from 3. But he had 4 assists, only 3 turnovers. This was his best game for sure. You can tell he's the leader on this team. Keyshawn Hall also balled out. Didn't miss a free throw. And this Auburn team, they were just fun. I really like Stephen Pearl. To me, of course, player-wise, Tahad Pettiford was the MVP of this game. To me, the MVP of this game was Stephen Pearl. I mean, it really helps after the departure of a coach. I mean, of course, as historic and as great of a coach as Bruce Pearl is, he's fantastic. His departure obviously is going to be hard to deal with because you're losing such a great coach. But a good thing about having a guy like Stephen Pearl, I'm not going to go out and say Stephen Pearl is like the greatest basketball mind ever, but he knows and he understands the culture of this team and the culture of this program, and you can tell that for sure by the way this team plays. I love watching him mic'd up. He was mic'd up during the game. I thought a lot of what he said was awesome. He had so much energy out there. I really like Stephen Pearl. I really like what he's doing. Um, to me, the main issue with this Auburn team is I don't think Keyshawn Murphy is as elite as I thought he was. I mean, he had 2 rebounds out there today, only played 18 minutes, and Auburn got out rebounded 34-46. It was one of the reasons Oregon was able to really hang around. They got a lot of second chance points. So Auburn really needs to shore that up. Of course, they lost their entire front court from last year. And I thought Keyshawn Murphy was going to hold it down. He's the Mississippi State transfer. He's 6'10", I think. He's a big dude. He's got experience playing in the SEC, but he just kind of got bullied down there today. And that was really not great. Kevin Overton, 0 for 4 from 3. He struggled shooting today. But outside of him, Auburn did shoot the ball pretty well. They were 46% from the field. Pettiford was good. Philip Jovic was awesome off the bench. I think Elijah Freeman's only going to get better, but he wasn't terrible. This Auburn team also, I think if you want to take away one thing of why Auburn was able to win this game, it's not just Todd Pettiford. It's not just Stephen Pearl and his mantra, but just look at the turnovers. Auburn only turned the ball over 6 times today. I think a lot of that is credited to Todd Pettiford being an experienced basketball player in an elite level of college basketball. And they forced 18 Oregon turnovers. Simpkins, who I said is the MVP of this Oregon team, had 7 turnovers in this game. And, I mean, if you turn the ball over 18 times and you only force 6 turnovers, Auburn was able to score in transition. They didn't give Oregon easy buckets that weren't second chance points. And I think that's sort of the main reason Auburn was able to win this game. Their defense, it really showed up. Let's see. Auburn has, who do they have tomorrow? They got Michigan tomorrow. Ooh, that's going to be fun to watch. If they're forcing turnovers against Oregon, they're going to force turnovers against Michigan, that's for sure. Although Michigan did just absolutely bully and stuff San Diego State into a locker today. But that's going to be a fun game to watch for sure. This Auburn team is good. I mean, I had my doubts at the beginning of the year when they played against their Bethune-Cookman and they really struggled and they lost to Houston. This is a good Auburn team still. They're going to make noise in the SEC. I don't think they're going to win the conference, but they're going to be great. On the other hand, Oregon, I had my doubts personnel-wise with Oregon. I thought that once they got Jackson Shelstad back, they were going to take a jump, but Shelstad was not good in this game. 4 for 17 from the field, 1 for 11 from 3. That is just rough. That is a rough statistical day. He's gonna have better days, that's for sure. He did last year. We know he's a good player, but I mean, Oregon. This is where Oregon really their resume was built in this tournament last year. They won the Players Era. They had a bunch of huge wins in this tournament. Their non-conference resume looked awesome, and even though they weren't elite in the Big Ten, they were still a 5 seed. I think they were a 5 seed in the tournament last year because of what they did in the Players Era. If they don't have that this year, they've already lost to Auburn. They got to play San Diego State tomorrow. If they lose that game too, it's going to be a nail biter for Oregon to reach the tournament this year. But we'll see. It's still very early in the year. The jury's still out on the Oregon Ducks, as it is on the Auburn Tigers. But we'll definitely see tomorrow when Auburn plays Michigan. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Next game to talk about. This is going to be a fun one to talk about for sure. The Kansas Jayhawks knockout or not knockout. They take down the Notre Dame Irish 71-61 behind a fantastic performance from Flory Badunga and a big-time win for Kansas without their star player, Darren Peterson. Now, my opinion on this Kansas team going into the year was not dissimilar from most's opinion on the Kansas Jayhawks. That is, first of all, thank the good Lord in heaven that Hunter Dickinson is not on this team anymore. And you know what? Hunter Dickinson was a good college basketball player. He was great. He did not work on Kansas. I hated watching the man. He was so boring to watch. And I was just so glad that he wasn't there anymore. And, of course, the main story going into the year for Kansas was Darren Peterson. Number 1 freshman recruit in the 2025 recruiting class. He's got NBA potential written all over him. And I honestly thought, you know what Kansas has done building around him is not that strong. The supporting cast behind Darren Peterson is not very good. It's going to weigh them down. But Darren Peterson is going to be so good and so elite that this Kansas team is still going to find success, and they could still make a run in March because he's going to be so heroically good. I went as far as to call the man an American hero. Before I watched him play a second of college basketball, I called Darren Peterson an American hero on this podcast. And guess what? Darren Peterson, he's a great player. I'm not taking anything away from him. He can score at all 3 levels. He's just a dynamite athlete. He's going to be amazing this year. but he's injured. They did not have Darren Peterson in this game, and they didn't have him against Duke either. And in those two games, although they lost to Duke, I don't know if y'all can hear the wind going on right now, but it's going. All right, it's fine. It's just in the backyard. It's my grandmother's backyard. It's a great place. Without Darren Peterson, this is literally the entire supporting cast. That's this. It's supporting cast against Notre Dame, and guess what? They won. They won the game, and they hung around with Duke. This to me is the best thing that can happen to this Kansas team. This Darren Peterson injury. Obviously, that's not great to say, and it sounds weird, but without Darren Peterson, it is forcing their supporting cast to step up and get experience winning college basketball games. And guess what? They're doing that. Flory Badunga was awesome today. 18 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, just 2 turnovers. That is such a well-rounded game. He played so well today. Trey White, I've been really impressed with Trey White. Trey White really kept them in that Duke game in Madison Square Garden. He shot the ball so well then. He's played a lot more efficient than I thought he was going to. And he's super athletic. Grabbed 9 boards today from a guard position, or I guess he's a small forward from the small forward position. Bryson Tiller was awesome today, 17 points, 9 rebounds. I've been impressed with Melvin Council. He has a little bit of a turnover problem, but he didn't today. Not the best scorer in the world, but he's fun to watch. He's a good point guard. I think when this Kansas team gets Darren Peterson back, look out. Because this supporting cast is growing. They are much better than I thought they were going to be. They're winning games by themselves. And with the addition of Darren Peterson to this team, who could be the best player in college basketball, I know, that's crazy to say, but it could be true. This Kansas team is going to be great. Again, the Big 12. It's going to be so much fun this year. There are so many good teams and so many good storylines in this conference. I cannot wait for it to get into conference play. But this is a big win for Kansas. Honestly, I don't have anything on Notre Dame. I don't know any of their players. I haven't watched a lick of Notre Dame basketball in a long time. But I was impressed with Marcus Burton off the bench. I thought he played pretty good. Actually, he was starting. My bad. Played 35 minutes, 24 points, 9 for 18 from the field. Did miss a free throw, only 3 turnovers. Solid stuff. Marcus Burton. Shout out on this channel. He played a good game. But Notre Dame should not be too relevant this year. I don't expect to talk about him very much this season. But I'm glad they're in Players Era because they have opportunities to make themselves relevant, which is, of course, what you want. But with Notre Dame, I'm definitely going to talk about them more on the football side of this podcast because they got a heck of a team there. How about Tennessee? How about Rocky Top getting a big-time win over Rutgers? I know you're saying to yourself, it's Rutgers. They lost to, I don't even remember, Troy or something earlier this season. But this was a huge win for Tennessee. And you know what? I'm going to go out. I'm going out on a limb. I'm making a bold prediction. I'm just going to say, Tennessee is the best team in the SEC. And Tennessee will win the SEC championship this year. Either they'll win the tournament or they'll be the regular season conference champs. And I don't know how hot of a take that is. I mean, that might be kind of obvious to some people. But, I mean, just look at the teams in the SEC so far. Kentucky, obviously not off to the best of starts. I don't feel comfortable saying they're the best team in the SEC right now. I don't think Florida's got a very good backcourt. I don't trust Boogie Flan. I don't trust Xavier Lee. Thomas Houck is great. But I think Tennessee looks like a way more consistent team. Alabama is the same thing as Florida, but flipped. Their backcourt is fantastic, but their front court can't grab a rebound. And they're small and undersized at the guard position. But Tennessee, man, oh, they look so good. They're so well coached, and they got a couple ballers on this team. First of all, Jacoby Gillespie. My goodness, Jacoby Gillespie. Jacoby Gillespie is one of my favorite players in college basketball for sure. Point guard transfer from Maryland. He was on the Crab Five last year. Rest in peace to the Crab Five. One of my favorite basketball teams to ever grace this planet. But he's got tournament experience. He's got experience at the highest levels of college basketball. Transfers into Tennessee. Just casually hangs 32 on Rutgers, 6 for 10 from 3. He was pulling up from 30-plus feet and just hitting them like all game long. So I was really impressed with what I saw from Gillespie. Also, only 2 turnovers and 4 assists. He's awesome. I mean, Gillespie's not afraid to score. He's not afraid to be the distributor on the team. He can get out in transition. He's a great defender. I mean, he's one of the most well-rounded point guards in this conference. And I think he's going to be great all season long. I love Jacoby Gillespie. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Nate Altman is also fantastic. He was really efficient today. 4 for 6 from 3. Since when have we got in Tennessee that is a guard going 4 for 6, or as a 6'10" guy going 4 for 6 from 3, and Jacoby Gillespie going 6 for 10 from 3? I mean, this team is awesome. They're so much fun. And Nate Altman is only going to get better and better. He's a true freshman. He's so talented. And I mean, his game is only going to improve under Rick Barnes. Speaking of Rick Barnes, this defense, scrappy, man. I don't care who you're playing. If you give up 60 points to a power four team, that is an impressive defensive day. They dominated on the boards. I mean, absolutely dominated. 43-28 rebounding advantage for Tennessee. Felix Ogpara is fantastic in that front court. Cade Phillips just fights, man. He's scrappy and he fights. He is the perfect quintessential Rick Barnes player. He's so much fun to watch. Or he's not fun to watch is a little bit of a weird way to describe it. He's a fighter. I'll just say that. Jalen Carey even came off the bench, put up 5 rebounds. So this Tennessee team fights. They're scrappy. They got 2 bucket getters out there. They got a good point guard. They got a strong front court. This is such a well-rounded Tennessee team. I think they can hang with anybody. They play their style of basketball, not your style of basketball. And this is an awesome team. I really like what I've seen from the Tennessee Volunteers this year. They're going to be fun. As far as Rutgers is concerned, of course, Tariq Francis is sort of their go-to guy. No, Dylan Grant is their go-to guy. He only had 10 points today. I mean, their starters didn't really do very much against Tennessee starters. But hey, Darren Buchanan came off the bench and played well. So at least you have that. Buchanan had 13 points, 5 for 9 from the field. It was pretty impressive. But this Rutgers team, I don't think they're really going anywhere in the Big Ten this year. They shouldn't really be that great. But they're pretty fun. I mean, who knows? Who knows? And anything can happen. Much different Rutgers team than it was last year. I'll say that. Another just absolute splattering in the Players Era tournament. Michigan wins by 40 over San Diego State. My goodness. 94-54, by far the most impressive performance from Michigan this year. Of course, they struggled like hell against Wake Forest. They struggled even more with TCU. And they come out and they flex in a big way against San Diego State. This Michigan team is still undefeated, but they've had problems. Their problems before this game were, first of all, their shooting has been awful. They were 11 for 33 from 3 in this game. They were 50% from the field, so that was fixed in this game. They turned the ball over way too much. They still turn the ball over 13 times, but much less than they have been recently. So that was much better. And to me, I still don't understand why they're starting Lindeborg, Moraes Johnson, and Adai Mara. I personally think they should have Moraes Johnson come off the bench and slide Yaxel to the 4, which is his natural position. I think with starting those 3 guys, they lose a lot of spacing, and they lose a lot of they don't get back in transition as well. But I mean, they won by 40 in this game, so it didn't really matter here. And they were very impressive in this game. Elliot Cadeau was tough. He played through a little bit of an injury. He sort of hurt his ankle, I think, is what happened with Cadeau. But man, 3 for 5 from 3. That's impressive for Elliot Cadeau, if you know him. He's so athletic still. He's a good passer out there. Only turned the ball over once. That was the main important thing. Yaxel Lindeborg put up a very Yaxel Lindeborg game. I think a lot of people expected him to come in and just drop 25 points every game and be this great volume scorer. To me, that's not who he is. I think he's a very consistent, well-rounded player that is going to put up performances like this. 5 for 7 from the field, not taking a crazy amount of shots, but being efficient, and also being great on the glass, and a great passer, and a guy you can run your offense through. So this was vintage Yaxel to me. And Adai Mara, 8 rebounds, only had to score 7 points. Adai Mara has been their best player this year, in my opinion. This was not his best game, but he was still dominating on the boards. And going against a guy like Magoon Guath, who's big. I mean, Magoon Guath is like 7'3", and so is Adai Mara, but Adai Mara just sort of looked like the better player out there today. And Michigan just completely ran away with this one. They'll play Auburn tomorrow. That'll be a much better game than this one was. But great win for Michigan. San Diego State, man, they are now 2-2, I think, on the year. They might be 1-2. I don't remember how many times they've won this year. But Miles Byrd struggled out there. Magoon Guath really struggled. I mean, their starters put up a combined, I'm getting a word from the math department, 21 points. 21 points from your starters. That does not win a basketball game. And, I mean, they just got bullied. Straight up bullied. At every area of the game, they were out-talented. They were out-efforted. I really like Miles Byrd. I like the San Diego State team, but they're going to have to flip a switch if they want to make the tournament this year. They could just win they could win the Mountain West. That's a very easy path to the tournament. They're definitely the favorites to do that. But we'll see. We'll see with San Diego State. Shout out LC Harrington off the bench. 15 points, 6 for 9 from the field. A lot of that was in garbage time, but good performance from Mr. Harrington. And that is pretty much it that I wanted to talk about with the Players Era. Those are pretty much all the games that went on right now. I think UNLV and Maryland are still playing. If you're up watching that game right now, you are just a 10 out of 10 sports fan. I mean, my goodness, great effort. We applaud effort on this channel, and we applaud all those that are staying up right now to watch Texas Arizona State or Maryland UNLV. I respect the heck out of you, especially if you're in Eastern or Central time zones. But with that, thanks so much for watching. If you've watched all the way to this point, you're just an absolute stud that definitely just loves college basketball. And that's exactly the type of person I'm trying to reach for this channel. So thank you so much. And if you get anything from this channel or from this video, it's not that Tennessee's going to be a great team. It's that Jesus Christ loves you. He is here. He's here for you. He will always be with you no matter what. If you're going through something right now, if you feel alone, if you feel hated, if you feel left out, whatever it is, just know that you are never truly alone because God is always with you. Even if you don't believe in God, God still believes in you, and He will be there for you when you're ready. And just like the Bible quote that says on my shirt right now, Romans 6:23, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Christ Jesus. Through God is where we find fulfillment. It's where happiness really is. And if we choose sin, if we choose the things of this world, we will die and we will perish. But if we choose God, that's where happiness is. So if you take anything from the channel today, it is that. And once again, thanks so much for watching. I hope Feast Week is fantastic for each and every one of you. I hope that you have a lot of courage and a lot of patience this holiday season. And you just have a great weekend, a great week, and you go make somebody smile, and you just have a fun day. Whatever it is, wherever you are, I'm looking out for you. I'm in your corner. So thanks for watching. God bless, and we'll see y'all later.